Hello my gorgeous friends on the internet, how you all doing? Okay, so today we are going to be building a bottom navigation bar, and let me give you an overview of how the bottom navigation bar is going to be. So here I have an application, Status Saver Pro. So launching it, we just have three. This is the bottom navigation, and we have three items. You can see the first one is status saver, the second one is a feed, the third one is a settings. So if I click on this feed, it's going to open a new fragment, and this fragment we're going to be able to read latest news happening around. And also here we have the settings tab, and here you can see your settings, share the app, give us a review, and the app version. Not too much settings though. So back on the status saver, I also added some tab layouts to this. You have the images, the videos, and the saved videos. If I swipe this thing, you can see it's taking us to the videos tab layout. So if you want to know how to create this, I made this in my previous video. You can go out and check it out. So now we are going to be creating something like this. Okay, so I'm going to close this. And here you can see I'm on my Android Studio. I just have the basic, empty activity which I created, and I've removed the text that is in here, and the layout is still constraint layout, so I'm going to change it to a relative layout. Okay, a relative layout. So we'll be using the relative layout for this. But before I go on, I want to add the three items, the three icons which will be showing on the bottom navigation. So to add those icons, I will go to my file, new file, and go to vector assets. So here I have the home already, so I'm just going to change the name to home and leave the icon to be black and finish it. So I'll go on and add the remaining two. So this is going to be fast. And I'll add the final one, which is a feed. So it's the download icon for the status saver. Okay, I'm going to change the name to download. Okay, so that's all. And now the next thing I want to create again is the bottom items. So the items that are going to be shown on the bottom of this layout. So to do that, I'm going to right click on my resource folder and go to Android resource directory. So here I'm going to be creating a new menu directory. So I will change the resource type from values to menu. So just leave the directory name as menu and click OK. So you can see the menu directory has been created automatically. So in order for me to create the items, I'm going to right click on it, go to new menu resource file. So you leave everything as it is, then change the file name to what you want. So I'll change it to bottom menu. Okay, and click OK. So this will just create the bottom menu.xml layout for us. So now this is the design tab, so I'm not going to be using the design tab for this. I will switch to the test tab, and I'm going to add three items. So the first item which I'm going to be adding here, we have the title of status saver, and the icon will be the download icon. Okay, and I'm also going to give it an ID of download. Okay, and next I'm going to create the other items. Okay, so now we have our items, and you can see it's showing us an options menu here, and it's not what we want, but don't worry about that. Later we are going to set it underneath this. So this one is not showing. Okay, you can switch to the design tab and also come back again. I guess it's going to show. Okay, so we have the 3 items here, but you can see the icons are not showing because in Android Studio we are not allowed to put an icon here. So it has another way of tweaking that. So now we have our items, and the name of the item is bottom menu.sml. So now I'll go back to my activity.main. So inside this activity.main, I'm going to be creating a bottom navigation widget. So to do that, I'm going to type in bottom. You can see as I type it, the bottom navigation view has already shown, but in your case it may not show like that. So in order to fix that, just switch to your design tab, go to containers, and you're going to see bottom navigation view. If your own is not showing by default, there should be a download icon here for you, so you can just click on that download icon to add it to your build.gradle app level file. So I'm going to go back to the test tab and type bottom navigation view, and so I'll give this match parent, and height will be wrap content. So I'll give it an ID of bottom view. Okay, and also set the menu. So now I'm going to set the menu of the item. So you can see I already selected this bottom menu which we created. I'll click enter, and you can see the items are already showing on top of the bar, on top of the layout. Well, I don't want it to be on top, I want it to stay below this layout. So what I'm going to do, I will say center in align parent bottom, and I'm going to set it to true, and this is going to take it all the way down to the bottom of the layout. So next I'm going to create a frame layout. So that frame layout is where we are going to be showing the fragments, the fragment. So I'm going to select frame layout, and the width should be match parent, the height match parent, and also give it an ID of fragment container. No, let me say container fragment, Okay, so now I'm also going to, because I don't want it to overlap this one, so I'm going to set it above this one. I gave it an idea of bottom view, so I'll set it above bottom view. And okay, this is looking nice, and we got everything. So if I click on it now, I can see the fragment is being highlighted. But now I want to create the fragments which we are going to be shown in this frame layout. So to do that, I will go to this com.example, which is my package name. Right click on it. I'm going to create a new package, and the package I will give it the name of fragment. Okay, click OK. So now I'm going to create 3 fragments, one for status saver, the second one for settings, and the third one for feeds. So I'll click on new and go down to fragments and black fragments. So here I'm going to set the name as status saver. Okay, so I will untick these ones because we don't need a callback or a fragment factory method. So leave the language as Kotlin by default and click finish. So we're going to wait for Gradle to actually build and sync the project. Okay, so after a successful sync, I'm going to create the other 2 fragments. So I'll select fragment, and this will be feed. Okay, so now we'll create the final one, and this will be settings. Okay, so now we have successfully created the 3 fragments. So I'm going to close that up. So now the next thing we want to do is to go to the Okay, I'm going to close those feeds for more space. Okay, so I'm going to remove this one. Okay, so now we are going to go to our main activity, and the main activity, what we're going to be doing there now is to actually get the ID of this bottom navigation. So I'm going to copy sorry for that. So I'm going to copy the ID, which is bottom view, and don't worry, we're not going to get this one, we're going to get it directly when we want to set it. So I will go to the main activity. So inside the main activity now, I'm going to get the ID of that bottom view. So I will say var bottom view equal to find view by ID. Okay, so this is actually a bottom navigation view. Okay, bottom navigation view, and I will get the ID here. Just paste it in. Okay, so now I'm going to add an navigation item selected listener to this. So to do that, I will get the ID name. So bottom view dot on, okay, set on navigation item selected listener. So be sure that you select this first one, which is showing listener, bottom navigation, and all that. Don't actually select this on the curly braces. So I will check on this, and I will start with object. You can see it's actually taking one argument, bottom navigation view dot on navigation item selected. So I'll type my object with a semicolon, and then I'll type bottom navigation view dot on item selected listener. So, and also open my curly braces, and you can see this thing is actually showing red. So to fix that, we're going to right click on it and scroll down to generate, and you're going to see implement method. So we're going to click on that. It's going to add this to the as a statement to it. So now we have the on navigation item selected listener. So this is actually PO. We can change this to item, or you can leave it the way it is. So I just prefer to go with item. So I'm going to remove this boilerplate that was added. So now inside here is where we are actually going to set the fragment. So to do that, I'm going to get a basic variable. So this will be selected fragments. Okay, or I can say fragments, and I will give it the data type of fragment. Okay, and I'm going to set this to null. So I will use the nullable type here and set it to null. So okay, that's looking good. So now I'm going to use the when keyword to actually get the IDs from the bottom, this, and the IDs from those items. So when the user clicks on it, it's going to open their respective fragments. So I'll go back to the main activity, and here I will say when. So using this item now, when item dot item ID. So when the item dot item ID is equals to arrow dot ID dot, the first one is status saver. Okay, download. Sorry, when is equals to download. Is it download? Sorry, let me check that out. Okay, so okay, the first ID is download, the second one is feed, the third one is settings. So when the ID is equal to download, we want to set the selected fragment to the status saver. So I will say fragment, which is this fragment I'm getting here now, the name fragment. I'll set it to status saver, right? Status saver. Okay, and don't forget to put your double parentheses. And the next one, I'll say arrow.id dot this is feed. So I'll say still do the same thing to it, and I'll set this to the feed. Okay, and finally I have the id dot settings. So I'll set it to the settings fragment. Okay, so this is looking good now, and you can see I'm also having a red error, but don't worry, we're going to fix that later. So now I want to set the let me set the fragment, so when the user clicks on each item, is going to actually replace the frame layout with the respective fragment. That is, I mean, this frame layout which I created on activity.main. Yeah, so we're going to get the ID directly and also switch it. Once you click on any item on this bottom navigation, it's going to replace it with it's going to replace the fragment inside this frame layout. So I'll go to the okay, so I'll say support fragment manager dot begin transaction dot, so you should get a replace here. So you can see the replace is actually taking two arguments. It's taking container view ID, which is going to be the frame layout ID, and the fragment, which is going to be this fragment which we did here. So now I'm going to get it directly, id dot fragment container. Okay, was it what I gave it? Let me see. Okay, container fragment. Okay, I'm going to change this, container fragment. Okay, so now we're going to get the id, arrow.id dot container fragment, and also the second argument will be the fragment. Okay, so this is looking good, but then I need to commit it, so I will say dot commit. So we're getting an error from this fragment, and it say required fragment and found fragment. So I'm going to replace this with a nullable null type, so this double exclamation point. But now we are still getting this red stuff, so to do that I'm going to return true. So returning true means that it needs to show the fragments when the buttons are clicked. So now everything is looking good. So now for us to actually know the pages which we have switched to, I will go to the fragment adapter and actually change the background color so that we can actually see what we are doing. So I change the background color. This should be color primary. Okay, so I will go back again to the status saver and change the color also. So the color will be dark. Okay, color primary dark. Okay, let me say color accent. Okay, so I'm also going to go to the settings layout. I'll just leave it as white as it is. So now I'm going to run the project and let's see what we got. So now I've run the project. Let me bring out my emulator. Okay, so I'm just going to, let me close this up. Okay, so now you can see the project has been built and the app has opened, but now you can see we are actually seeing an empty layout, and this is not good. We can only see the next layout when we click on the button, and when you click on this one you can see the next layout. Click on this one, but once the app loads from the beginning, we are actually seeing a blank fragment, and we don't want it that way. So to fix that, now what I'm going to do is to set the first fragment. Once the user just opens the app, the first thing they're going to see should be the status saver fragment. So to do that, I'll go to my, okay, I'm just going to close this. I'll go to the main activity. So inside the onCreate, on top of the onCreate layout, onCreate function, I'm going to set this same thing which we did here. So I'm going to do it on this place. So support fragment manager dot begin transaction dot begin transaction dot replace. So I'm going to replace the layout arrow.id dot container fragment. So I'm going to replace it with this first activity which I want to show, the first fragment which I want to show, and which is the status saver fragment. So I'm going to type status saver and make sure you close it with the parentheses, and then I will commit this. So now we'll go on and run the project again. Okay, so let me open my emulator. Okay, so I'm just going to close this up. So you see the first layout that is showing is this status saver layout. And so if we click on this one now, we are not seeing any blank screen at all. So we switch to the next one and we switch to the settings fragment. And this is looking cool, and we think this is all for this video. I hope you enjoyed and you learned something from it. In case you have any difficulty, put it down in the comment box below and I'll do my best to provide a solution for that. So please guys, don't forget to subscribe, like the video and share to your friends, because sharing is caring actually. So thank you all for watching this video and see you in my next video.